Equipment is pretty important in GS. It can either make or break a team comp in tough content, or single-handedly decide if you're able to nuke a boss or not. So in today's video, I thought I would recommend some of the best equips that you can get from the side story. Now I will go on record and say, not every equip from the side stories are amazing. There's a few standout ones, but not all of them, unfortunately. So let's go all the way back to the Freedom Fighter saga. This was one of the first sagas in GS, and let it be known this was actually the saga that came out with the first anniversary of Grand Summoners, and this thing brought two equips that are still amazing even to this day, which is going to be the Magical Hat, aka Alma's Hat, and also the 4-star defense Seagull. The 5-star Magic Alma's Hat is quite possibly the best free-to-play option for any 5-star magic slot in the entire game. Not only just that, it does also boast a little bit of a damage boost as well to magic damage characters because it does have a passive 20% magic damage buff. My recommendation would be I would get at least a minimum of 3, possibly 4 max LB and max enhanced, especially if you're newer to the game. Now as for the magical sword, this you only need one of them. Moving on straight into the next saga that came after the 5 Freedom Fighters, and that's going to be the Knights of Blood. And this saga has quite a few goated equips. A lot of you already may have some of these or may know of some of these. Let's start at part 1, the Berwick saga. This thing can drop a 4-star support, which is the Blood Crest Arc Ignite. Arc Ignite is quite possibly one of the best 4-star supports in the entire game. It's a very consistent, very strong, very quick 10 arc gauge to the entire team instantaneously. Also gives you skill CT speed as well, and overall is just a great equip. I recommend that you at least get 2 of these, possibly even 3. That's actually it for the Season 1 Blood Knights, which may be kind of surprising, but we're gonna go back to Berwick, but in Season 2. Episode 5 of the Blood Knight saga. And we're looking specifically here at a 5-star defense known as Flame Stola. Now why do I recommend Flame Stola? For one, this 5-star defense is not that good in terms of its skill. It's just you negate allies damage for 500, you reduce damage by 20%. I mean, it's solid. 20% damage reduction to the entire team isn't terrible, but the main reason why I'm recommending this is for the fact that it has a passive that gives 10% physical damage. And if you're using an attacker, especially a physical damage dealer that maybe has a defense slot and you want them to hit a little bit harder, you don't really care about using some type of utility defense slot, well, Flame Stola is just a great item to have to buff up their physical damage. Because more than likely, you probably don't have a lot of the meta options that people use in that 5-star defense slots for like attackers. So because of that, Flame Stola is kind of your best friend, gives you 10% physical damage, great stuff all around here. The next equip you're going to be able to get from episode 6 of the Knights of Blood saga, aka the Rosetta episode. And you're going to be able to get a 4-star magic here, and that is known as Genesis. Now Genesis is just a nice little AoE water damage buff. It also has a passive, which is Revenge. Not too great, but it's there. It's a 4-star magic. 4-star magics are pretty hard to come by, especially free-to-play wise. And whenever a new one comes out, it's kind of almost just farm it because you never know when you need it. But this is great in nuke comp specifically, especially water damage nukes or nukes consisting mostly of water damage dealers. As long as somebody has a 4-star magic, that's a 10% damage buff to the entire team, because why not? As since we're on the topic of nuking, let's talk about the Leon side story. Astral Robe Axis. Now this item is pretty crazy. The great thing about this item is that you don't need a max LB, but I would recommend that you get quite a few. And the reason why I say that is because this item is more so a nuking item than anything else. It's a single target, 100 arc gauge, and 10% damage buff for 15 seconds. Now why recommend a single target arc gauge buff, especially for nukes? You know, that's kind of weird. But the thing is, Axis is really great in certain situations where maybe you want a character to get instantly into their arc gauge, but you don't care about them running like type 0 because you want their true art more than anything. Think of someone like 12G for an example. If he activates his third eye, everyone on the team gets 100 arc gauge, so you want him to get into his true art ASAP. This 5-star support may not come up all the time because you may be using other stuff like type 0 for an example, but when it does, you're going to be happy that you farmed it. And one of the last things we're going to talk about for nuking before we move on to everything else is going to be Orvale's 5-star physical. And the sword, of course, is none other than Grand Destin. The main reason why we use this item is it's great for auto nuking. Being able to go through different rooms and just instantly clear out waves of enemies just by a simple press of Grand Destin is amazing. The great thing about this too is that, yeah, you can get multiple, but you don't actually need them to be max LB. I would recommend at least getting maybe 2, especially if you're into auto nuking. If you don't care about auto nuking, I wouldn't recommend Grandestin to be farmed really. Maybe get one and that's it. Now, one thing that I would recommend everyone to farm, whether you're a nuker or a sustained person or whatever, is going to be Victoire's 4-star heal. This is from Cross the Blaze episode 7, and this item is one of the best burst heal items that you can get for a 4-star heal. Not to mention as well, this also gives you a tiny bit of a damage boost because it does give 10% magic damage. But yeah, ain't much to say here about this. It's just a great 4-star heal. Highly recommend you do max LB this one, and you only need one, by the way. I don't think you need to farm 2 or 3 or whatever. You only need one of this item. Just make sure you max LB it and fully enhance it. Then one of the last ones here from the Cross the Blaze saga is going to be coming from the final episode, episode 8, which is the Luan episode. And here you can get a 4-star magic known as Splendor. Now, why Splendor? If you look at the skill and you look at what it's bringing, you're like, what the heck, OP? This ain't doing anything special. You lifesteal by 2% of damage for 5 seconds. You get some defense. And why do I recommend this equip? Well, this equip is only needed if you nuke, and especially if you nuke very high-end stages, like for an example, stages with Hellfire. Any stage that has reflecting damage back at the player or being able to deal damage just over time to the player, something like Splendor is really, really good because it gives that character lifesteal. Even though it's only for 5 seconds, it may be enough just to keep that character alive, to do their true art and to do all their damage, to actually kill the boss before they die to the stage mechanic. So if you're into nuking, you're into high-end nuking, you want to nuke those type of stages, you're gonna need Splendor or you're just gonna die. Also with this, you don't need this max limit broken, you just need it max enhance, and I would recommend you have at least probably 3 on deck or minimum of 2. Oh yeah, and this is another equip where if you're not going to be nuking like that, you don't have to worry about farming this one. Next, we're finally moving on to the Ninja Saga. The new girls in town here. So is there an equip from their saga that's actually good or not? Well, I would say there's one equip that really stands out, especially if you missed the Ruin Roly event. That's going to be Shiki's 5-star magic, the Mirage Kimono. Now, the Mirage Kimono gives everyone on your team 30% BE output, and if you're a light unit, you get some more damage, which is whatever. Main thing is it's a 30% BE output buff. Now, you don't need this a lot, pretty much ever, but there may be a time in the future where you will have to rely on BE output more so than arch generation from like type 0 or something. And if that's the case, you're either going to be turning to either this equip, the Mirage Kimono, or you're going to be turning to X marks the spot. And if you didn't play during the Ruin Roly event, you're not going to have X marks the spot. So the next best thing is, of course, the Mirage Kimono. And as for the rest of the Ninja Saga, well, that's kind of it. Nothing else from any of these sagas really like impressed me or made me want to tell you guys to go farm them and waste time on it. Since for a lot of these equips, there's other equips in the game, like more so from like giant bosses, that are just better than what you're going to be getting from the side story here. So unfortunately, Ninja Saga didn't really add too much to grind. Do you know what saga did? The Phantom Snipers. Our most recent 8-episode saga that we got in Grand Summoners Global. For one, let's look at episode 1, aka the Haruto episode. This one brings 5-star support with it, which is going to be the toe boots. Also, you see how they said Magisteel toe boots? Because I didn't want to call them steel toe boots. I see what they did here, but I don't really know if I like it. The main reason why I'm recommending this item is because this is an AoE arch-gen item. Gives everyone on your team 3 art gauge over time for 10 seconds. It's not amazing. Like the arts per second on this, if you actually do the math, I think it's like 0.75, which isn't crazy by any means, but it is an AoE arch-gen item. And for a lot of people, especially newer players, AoE arch-gen items are extremely hard to come by, but they're extremely valuable because they arch-gen for the entire team. So if you're going to farm this, only farm 1, make sure you max enhance it, max LB it. And the reason why we're only farming 1 of this is because since it is a overtime arch-gen item, it's not a burst arch-gen item, its art gauge is not going to stack with itself. So if you do wind up farming 2 of these, it's not going to do anything for your team, since only 1 can be in effect at any given time. The final equip that I'm going to be recommending in this video, which is going to be coming from episode 4, aka the Simon episode, which this is another 4-star magic. Could you guys have guessed? This one is just a solo 30% attack buff, and it also gives you 20% defense if you're a dark unit. It's not bad. It's definitely really solid, especially if you nuke a lot, or if you're using this more so on an attacker. 30% attack is going to be a little bit noticeable on them, definitely going to hit a lot harder. But as for the side story stuff, that's kind of the main ones that I want to say. I would say I recommend that you farm at least 1 copy of probably every equip from the side story, because I think there are missions tied to max limit breaking and max enhancing each equip from the side story. So, you know, that's some free crystals right there. But for the most part, those are the ones that really stand out to me. So yeah, hopefully you guys found this video informative, entertaining, whatever the case may be. Also, good luck to all of you farmers farming because farming side stories for equips can be quite difficult at times. Highly recommend that if you're going to be farming this, of course, go into multiplayer and look for a high luck team if possible and grind it like that. If you're grinding it solo, you're going to be wasting a little bit of stamina since you're going to be leaving a few luck bonuses on the table. But if you prefer to farm solo, then going ahead, just make sure you at least have one luck unit on the team so you're able to get some bonus drops. Either way though, man, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's been your boy P. If you enjoyed this video, highly recommend check out either one of the videos popping on the screen right now. Great content, guarantee you love them. And oh yeah, one more thing, don't forget to drink water.